Hello, who is ever going to watch this video. I have notes over here so I can keep track of what I'm going to be talking about. And what I'm going to be talking about is gender and gender identity. I identify as either demiboy or demigirl, which a demiboy or a demigirl is someone who identifies as either partially girl and partially boy, or partially boy and partially girl, or partially boy and partially whatever other gender. So before I knew about all these gender names and gender identities and what transgender is, I never really cared about gender identity or gender calling or pronouns. Because when I was a kid, I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, I'm a girl, whatever. But I wouldn't mind if people called me a boy. And I just assumed I was a tomboy. I assumed, like, oh yeah, I'm just kind of, boyish, whatever, no big deal. And it wasn't until middle school that I was introduced to all of these, this idea of identifying as something other than your sex, your whatever you identify as when what sex you're born with. But even then, in middle school, I never really thought of it too much. I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's interesting. But I never really identified as anything other than a girl, because it just kind of went over my head, and I wasn't really interested in it. And it wasn't until 2 years, freshman year of high school, when I was at this convention with my best friend and a couple of my middle school friends, that we met this really, really sweet little girl, and she asked my best friend and I what pronouns we would like to go by, and I honestly said that I didn't care whichever pronouns that you would use for me. I didn't mind being called a she, and I didn't mind being called a he. And at the time, it kind of confused me, because even with introduced to identifying as something other than your sex, it was just still very confusing. And that's when I started thinking about, maybe, there's this thing of, sorry, I lost my track. I have all these notes right here, and yet I'm still kind of all over the place. But it wasn't until the year after that, sophomore year, when my best friend and I, we went to the same convention, that we met this group, or these two people at first, and then they introduced us to a group that they said they would prefer male pronouns, and that one of them was actually agender. And at that time, I didn't know what agender was. I didn't know what any of the terms were, or the names for anything, or the descriptions or the meanings behind it. And And I just thought, yeah, okay, that's, what they identify as. And then I think it was maybe a month or so, or a month and a half, I think. After that, my best friend and I, she actually started the conversation of gender and gender identity and what we feel and what we identify as. And, if we truly, feel both as females. And we both agreed that it was more of a, we didn't really feel like, we didn't feel feminine. We were more comfortable with male pronouns. Her more so, she felt more agender, whereas I felt more of both genders, and then at times agender like her. But we started talking about that, and we just kind of, was starting to understand how we felt towards what gender we feel and what pronouns we preferred. And so I don't want to give out any false information, because right now I'm just assuming, because it's just based on our conversation. But at least at this time, she feels agender, and then at this time, I feel like a demigirl or demiboy. And during this conversation, or a continuation of this conversation, I think, which was a couple days after the original one, we started talking about names and names that we would like to go by, because we both agreed that, like, our names were fine. We were kind of neutral on our names, but they didn't fit us, and we didn't feel comfortable by going by those names. And we both admitted that, like, I admitted to her that it kind of irked me whenever I heard somebody call my name, or write my name, or text me and say my original name, or my birth name, I should say. I never felt really comfortable with that. So what my best friend had the idea of, just we should go by the names that we like on Tumblr, because Tumblr is a great place to try out things, test the waters, and not really be judged by it by anybody. So on Tumblr, I went by Skylar, and she went by the name that she chose. She had two names that she really liked, and then she just chose, the one. I'm not sure how she did that. I think it was just the one that she liked best and how it sounded to her. But I think it was maybe a week or so that she decided, I'm just gonna play it safe and just go by my original name. I don't really know the exact reason as to why she wanted to change it back. But that's her decision, and she should do whatever she feels comfortable with, because Tumblr is supposed to be a place where you should feel comfortable of being who you are. Me, I haven't changed my name. I just felt just more comfortable with it. Because obviously everybody has a different comfort zone that they feel comfortable with, and so obviously, and unsurprisingly, our comfort zones, they're similar, but they're different. Obviously this could change, because, obviously I'm not an adult yet. I'm still growing, I'm still learning things, I still have an entire life to live. But at this moment, and what I feel right now, and what I've been feeling for a while, this is what I identify with. I identify as Demiboy, and I identify as Demigirl. The thing is, it's just, don't be afraid to say what you think you are. Don't be afraid to identify what you think you identify as, because your personal thinking, your personal opinion on that identity is yours. And so you can identify with anything because, or you can identify as anything that you feel like you identify with. Because that's just your look on the identity, and that's for yours to have. And obviously you can change your identity or what you identify as whenever you want to. If you feel that it's your identity has changed, then change it. Honestly, the people that matter, they won't care how many times you change your identity, or they won't even care if you never change your identity, or you only change it once, or however many times. They won't care because you're you. So yeah, I didn't mean for this to be a whole preachy thing, because yeah, but I just that was just kind of important because that's just how I feel that's important to me, because I'm a type of person that once they choose something, it's very hard for me to change my mind. Even if I don't like the decision that I made, I'll still keep to it. So I wanted to say that I just felt like that was important for me to say for myself and for whoever watches this. So yeah, I guess this is the conclusion. Thank you if you've watched to the ending of this. But just, I guess identify as whatever you want to, or feel that you identify with, and have a wonderful day, have a wonderful life, have just wonderful everything.